I have a beginner glitter badge rail tutorial for you guys today. This video is going to be a lot longer than my other ones just because I really want to break down the steps. Don't forget to like and save this video so you can come back to it as a reference. We're going to be using acrylic blanks and UV resin so we can get these badge rails done so fast. I got this 2-inch cherries acrylic blank from Moxie Vinyls. When you purchase the blank, it will come with a file that you can download and you can use that to cut vinyl from your Cricut or whatever cutting machine you have. I'm using Bloodbath from It's Pretty Personal. You're going to want either a fine or a mini chunky or medium cut glitter. Avoid chunky, especially if it's your first time. A lot of the basic tools that I use are listed on my Amazon storefront, which you can find in my bio. My favorite UV resin is Counterculture DIY. I normally use their lamp, however my cord broke for that, so right now I'm using my Resin Rockers Magic Cure lamp. The amount of UV resin you're going to need is going to vary on a lot of factors. Your environment temperature and the viscosity of your UV resin are two of these factors that will greatly impact how much you're going to need. For me, most 2-inch acrylic blanks take about 2 to 2.5 milliliters of UV resin. I pour my resin in first, and then I add in my glitter until it's about a honey thick mixture. I like to have my mixture honey thick for a couple reasons. You want to be able to spread your mixture around without having too much runoff on the sides. This honey thick mixture also gives me really good glitter coverage. After I poured my glitter in the first time, it was still too runny for me, so I added more glitter. It's always best to start with a little bit and then keep adding more until you get the consistency you need. If your mixture becomes too thick, you can just add a little bit more UV resin to thin it out. I'm going to put this UV glitter resin mixture on the back side of my acrylic blank. The back side is going to be the side where the badge rail is going to attach to. Because I already cut my design out first in vinyl, I can easily tell what is going to be the front side. I know some people like to do theirs one-sided, however, I like to do mine this way. I think doing the glitter on the backside and the design on the front and sealing it gives the badge rail some more dimension. There's a protective film on the backside and on the front side of your acrylic blank. I'm only going to peel off the back protective film. I personally like to glitter first and then do the design and seal on the front. I leave that protective film on the front just in case any glitter does run off, it'll easily peel off once it's cured. I'm going to cover the whole backside in glitter and UV resin and then cure under the lamp until it's no longer tacky. For me, this was 2 minutes. This is exactly what the file looks like from Moxie when you upload it into Cricut Design Space. They include every size SVG, so I'm going to delete the ones that are not associated with the 2-inch. Now the black piece is just a reference piece. This piece is the exact size of your acrylic blank and you do not need to cut it out in vinyl. I want more glitter in this project, so I am not going to cut out red vinyl. I made this a little easier by welding the stem and the leaf together and made it one color. You can delete these white pieces if you want, it'll still look like a cherry. I thought it was a nice finishing touch. Now that my backside is cured, I'm going to peel off the protective film from the front of the acrylic blank. If you have a lot of runoff on the edges, you can use an X-Acto knife to scrape off the cured resin. You want to be very careful when you're using your X-Acto knife, one, because obviously you don't want to cut yourself, but also because you don't want to break the seal between the acrylic blank and your glitter and resin mixture. If you break that seal, you run the risk of the glitter detaching from the backside of your acrylic blank. If you notice, I did not sand the backside of the acrylic blank before I added the glitter and UV resin. It's a personal preference, and most crafters I know actually don't sand the backside first. People who do sand will swear that you need to prevent that backside from coming off, but it's really breaking the seal where you're going to get the separation. I used to sand my acrylic blanks when I first started and now I don't, and there is no difference between sanding and not sanding in my personal experience. Now I'm using transfer tape to put the vinyl design on the front side of the acrylic blank. I'm going to finish the front by sealing with a layer of UV resin. I know normally permanent vinyl does not have to be sealed, however, because people are very rough with their badge rails and nurses like myself, we do have to clean these quite often. You definitely want to seal that vinyl so your piece will last. Also, sealing the front gives your piece a domed look and it looks much more finished. If you absolutely wanted to, you can mirror the vinyl, cut it out, and put it on the back side of the acrylic blank and seal with the glitter and UV resin mixture and just be done. That way you don't have to seal the front. Sealing the front with UV resin is probably the hardest part and takes a little bit of practice to get it right. I always try to get my top coat done with one coat, so I pour a generous amount on, starting in the middle, and work my way out with the silicone nail tool. If you don't have one of these silicone brushes, you absolutely can use that metal stir stick that we use to mix the glitter. I use the silicone one now because when I work with decals, the decals can get scratched, and the silicone helps prevent them from scratching. If you're using vinyl, you don't have to worry about it scratching. When I film these videos, I have an overhead ring light that shines down right on my piece. This light is really great at helping me identify any dry patches that might be on my acrylic blank. I always look at my piece from a couple different angles just to make sure I have good coverage before I cure. After my coat is applied, I use a propane torch to pop any micro bubbles that might be on the surface. I also check for any pieces of stray glitter or maybe some dust that got in there, and I'll move that out of the way with my nail brush. I like to use UV resin to attach my badge rail to the acrylic blank. In order to do it this way, you have to use clear badge rails because the light needs to be able to get under the badge rail and hit that UV resin, otherwise the resin will not cure. This is another thing people like to argue with me about. They tell me that you can't use UV resin because it won't cure under the clear badge rails, but trust me, I've popped off enough of them and checked, and they will cure if you use the clear badge rails. I always put a little bit underneath the badge rail, and if I don't have any of that UV resin peeking out from the sides, then I will add some to the sides and then cure again. I usually cure the badge rail for about 4 minutes just to make sure it's on there really good. Now I know this video was quite long, but if you stuck through and still have questions, let me know in the